What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 62, 63. Oh my goodness. 63. Tighten up the dog pound. We are coming off championship weekend and we are inching ever so closer to Super Bowl Sunday. And it all comes to an end. But of course, I'm not here by myself today. I'm joined by the bald sexy, wearing his Joe Thomas snap count hat. Michael Welsh, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing, sir?
Thanks for the introduction, Thomas. I'm doing good. Definitely feeling a little bit of reality hitting with what you mentioned about the season coming to an end. Because as much as we love doing the mock drafts and talking about free agency and coaching hires, that stuff's fun, man. But when the season's over, there's just like a full several weeks of just sadness. And that next week where we don't have a game after the Super Bowl is where it really hits, where it's like shit. It's
So
like
when
sick.
it really hits is like beginning of June because the draft's over.
Yeah.
There's like 45 days till training camp, and I mean we're basically Dave Chappelle and the Tyrone Bigham skit. Like, you got any more of that NFL content?
At that point, we're just watching Ronald Acuna Jr. hit home runs for the Braves, waiting for football season to start.
Mm.
But yeah, it's bittersweet. I don't know if you saw my tweet I had yesterday about it, reflecting on the season a little bit. It was kind of a weird season. Um, there were so many injuries across the NFL. The refs were like more dog shit than ever. And then we kind of got a Super Bowl that no one really wanted. Someone was like, this may be the worst football season we've had in a while when you really
Oh,
stack up. Because all the primetime games, like almost all the primetime games, were dog shit. A lot of them were. And I was like, man, the Browns made the playoffs and that part of the season was magical for me. But when you look at it as a big picture, it's like I don't know one person besides like actual fans of the Chiefs and the 49ers that are excited for this Super Bowl. Everyone wanted the Lions. And, it's like I'm not really that excited for the Super Bowl. I'm gonna watch it, of course. I'm gonna bet on it. I'm gonna do all the things. But you know how it is, man. We just had this Super Bowl a few years ago. I just wanted to see some different teams in there. Um,
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like excited about the Super Bowl, but I don't feel any different about it than I did about last. Like, if the Titans aren't in it, or if a team that I just like absolutely despise isn't in it, like I generally have the same feeling.
See, I don't. I'm sick of, Mahomes has become very unlikable. I'm sick of watching Brock Purdy be a glorified game manager, take away one weapon, and then it's just like I'm very uninterested in the 49ers. I feel like I've seen them in the championship game or the Super Bowl so many times in the last several years, and I'm just sick. I'm just sick of them. I don't know. The Chiefs is
Oh,
is cooler in a way because like we're kind of witnessing a Tom Brady 2.0, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick 2.0 situation with Reed and Mahomes. Like, can't count him out. Mahomes in the playoffs is pretty exciting to watch. And now they're back again. We're witnessing like greatness, like true greatness, which is cool. But yeah, I just, one of the Lions in there, man. Dan Campbell really pissed out his leg.
yeah. I mean, I was rooting for the Lions because they had the most balls left on any team, and but the what you brought up about the 49ers was interesting to me because I was talking to Fuller the other day, and he was just like, man, like it's a Super Bowl where like everybody just like generally just hates both teams. And I'm like, do people really hate the 49ers?
I
And then
don't
you
know if
just
hate. It's not hate. It's just I'm sick of them. I don't know, man. Like I'm just sick of.
I just never it I'm like, man, am I like on an island on this? Like I don't hate, like, I mean, the 49ers are there, they exist. I don't like, I'm rooting for the 49ers in the Super Bowl because I want to see Jawan Jennings, that absolute dog for the Tennessee Volunteers, get a ring. But I mean, like, I don't know. I just don't like, why would anyone hate the 49ers? That's their,
I
I mean,
mean,
like
maybe
outside of like if you were an NFC West fan, but
yeah. I mean, maybe our Twitter feeds are just different, but like ever since championship weekend concluded, everyone has been relentlessly shitting on this Super Bowl matchup.
man,
And I mean, I see it all day. And as soon as the 49ers beat the Lions, I like just had like an eye roll moment of like, well, it's just a predictable Super Bowl. I don't know. It just is. Like we just saw it.
See, I feel like
I don't hate the 49ers. I just am like I could go a couple years without seeing them this far in there again. I don't know.
I kind of felt that way about because I mean, like, I don't like the Eagles, and then
Yeah.
I do have Chiefs fatigue.
Yeah. 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 I mean, like, I do too. Like, you, the greatness with Mahomes and Reed, like I said, like, I have interest in that because it's like, wow, we're witnessing something that could be pretty special that already, if he retired tomorrow, he could probably get in the fucking Hall of Fame, like, so that aspect is cool. But overall, yeah, the Chiefs fatigue, the Taylor Swift, like, the networks are really like overdoing the Taylor Swift stuff. And I don't have anything against Taylor Swift or the whole her and Kelsey relationship. I just think that the networks are just like really ruining it. And they're making people hate her. Uh and just it's just too much, I don't know. So I think a lot of people have Chiefs fatigue because of that too, which is a whole other element of it. Um all that being said, that's the Super Bowl matchup we have. And we had these championship games this past weekend. Um Both honestly good games. You got to feel for Lions fans. I feel like they really had it, and Dan Campbell's over aggressiveness. And I laughed so hard at your post. Draw 25 or kick a field goal with the Dan. I mean that's how it was. I'm just like, my brother in Christ,
Well,
what are you
I saw that
doing?
post or it was I guess like how much on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you give Dan Campbell? I'm like, dude, I'd give him an 11.
Yeah,
But dude, it's
oh my
especially and I
God.
didn't catch this at first, dude. But if you look at like just the straight box score of like total team yards, penalties, like the 40, like it could not have been more even. Like they were both 50% on third down conversions. Like yards were pretty similar. It was 34-31. Like literally the difference was Dan Campbell just
Pissing down his leg, bro.
it really
Moment was too
was.
big. Yeah, moment was too big.
He got too high off his own supply.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we've talked about this. I know I've had this discussion with other people. I'm pretty sure we did at some point. Like, the Lions are really good this year, and like they're easy to root for. Like Dan Campbell's easy to root for. But we said several times, especially last year, because I would buy into the hype every game, thinking that they were going to win. And you were like, I'm done picking the Lions. We had these back and forths because
Yeah.
what you love about Dan Campbell is also like some of the worst things about him in terms of he's overly aggressive and just does stupid shit. And he gets away with it sometimes. And then sometimes he doesn't. And it's in a regular season game. And that's okay because you play next week. But in a game like this, you're one game from the Super Bowl. Dude, I mean, you can't do that stuff. You can't. And he did. And I went into this game thinking, like, man, the Lions are going to be close. And then he's going to do like a fake punt in his own territory to try to outsmart, just because there's always that chance he's going to do something stupid. And I didn't think it would be this field goal situation, but um, yeah, I truly like, I feel for Lions fans, man, because they felt like they had it. They were up, what, 24-7 one point.
Yeah,
Like,
24-7.5. And so,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, if there's one thing Dan Campbell did that I agree with, it's at the post-game press conference. He's like, yeah, we probably won't make it back again. And I'm like, dude, I don't think you are. Like, I'll just say it right now. The Dan Campbell Lions will not make it back to another NFC championship game.
okay, you heard it here first, everyone. I definitely had some respect for him just being real about that. It wasn't a cardboard cutout response. I was like, damn, like he knows. He probably knows how much he fucked up because, you know, you as a football fan, you know how hard it is to get back to that point once ever again. Like the Chiefs
Cries
did.
in cries in 2019 Titans.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like the Patriots of our youth and now the Chiefs of our adult life make it look easy to get back there. And even the 49ers to an extent, they're just like in it every year. But that isn't the case for some teams, especially because like Jared Goff has played well and like they have a good core group of players. But I mean, how they have a lot of free like players are going to be free agents. Now, luckily, reportedly today, Ben Johnson's staying, which you said that was going to be the biggest test for Dan Campbell would be to like see
It
how the team
was,
would be
dude.
without him. But yeah, I'm shocked that he's staying.
Lucky.
Yeah. So that actually helps him a lot in terms of, being able to be competitive next year and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't think they'll ever get back, but I could see it. Like I agree with you to an extent. I don't want to like definitively say it, but yeah, it could be like they're a wild card team next year and then like they miss it. Like that's hard, man. So I hated that for Lions fans. But you got to give credit. 49ers, they battled back. I know I made the comments about Brock Purdy. I don't think Brock Purdy's like a dog shit quarterback at all. Like I think he's a good quarterback. We've seen so many times during the season when he loses weapons and he's just less effective. So do you think that he is an MVP candidate like he's made out to be, or do you think he's a product of great coaching and elite weapons?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, the comment about how like he loses like some weapons and he turns into a pumpkin. Like I feel like you could say that for like 85% of the starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, I guess like not Mahomes because he hasn't had weapons really all season. Trying to think who else that doesn't really apply. I mean, I feel like a healthy Aaron Rodgers, maybe, but
I mean, like Mahomes, I Burrow not last year, but the year before, Burrow didn't have Chase for a stretch and they were still playing well.
yeah, Joe Flacco, quarterbacks like that, just in
Yeah,
that top
Joe,
top edge.
absolutely. Super Bowl winning quarterback, Joe Flacco.
Browns fan or Browns legend, I mean.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It's just like I don't like when the media or fans like crown a guy too fast, and it felt like he got crowned pretty fast. And I just never even saw him as like an MVP quarterback. But for a while, it's like Brock Purdy's got the best odds to win MVP. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing well in the middle of the season, but
Yeah,
even again, like, he may develop into something special just because he's a second year guy, Mr. Irrelevant out of Iowa State. Like,
yeah.
who knows? Maybe like 5 years from now, Brock Purdy is just the next Peyton Manning.
He could
Oh,
be, or
ah!
he could be like an Alex Smith type, like a good quarterback that bounces around a few teams. And like, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Um, So 49ers punched their ticket. They're back. And then we have the Chiefs and Ravens. Now, this was a very and do you have any more thoughts of the 49ers Lions?
There was one quote I saw from somebody like during the season, and it was talking about Dan Campbell and his aggressiveness, and it kind of stuck with me. It was like, if Lions are so good, why do they play so desperate?
Damn. Yeah.
You know, that's
That's
a
a yeah. That's a fair point, honestly. Because they do play like that at times. Like, yeah, that's interesting. Um,
on the Chiefs Ravens.
Chiefs Ravens. Chiefs punched their ticket, winning 17-10 in Baltimore. The narrative that people tried to make about Mahomes winning on the road is already dead. Show a gravestone of 2024 to 2024. Like that
Dude.
lasted because I mean, like I said at the top of the episode, the Pacheco has complimented him really well. Like I think them having a running game and a good defense has helped, but like it is just crazy. Like when they need it, he delivers. I watched so many times in that game where the Ravens were in it a lot. I mean, Lamar throws that triple coverage interception in the end zone.
Just egregious.
And then
God, the Falcons must be killing themselves right now that they didn't trade 8 first-round picks and give a $250 million contract to a guy that ended the season throwing a triple coverage interception in the end zone.
yeah. Uh so there was that.
Cue the Reggie Miller choke gif.
There was that, and then there was the Zay Flowers fumble on the goal line. Moments after
Egregious.
taunting.
Egregious. I
And
mean, take taunting penalty out of the game. We should
well, yeah.
encourage taunting. We should encourage all that toxic behavior.
Yeah.
And equally as egregious, stretching the ball out at the goal line.
Yeah,
What are you doing?
it's always so risky. You see players do it all the time and get away with it, but yeah, that's exactly why you don't do that.
Mm-mm.
So the Ravens, one interesting thing that I took away from that game was, well, two things really. One of them is like, I think Lamar Jackson is who we think, you know, they are who we thought they were. That's how I feel like about Lamar Jackson now. I feel like the biggest thing with him has been how does he perform in the postseason? And can he stay healthy late in the year, like we've talked about? He did stay healthy this year. He's probably going to win the MVP. He had a really good regular season. The Ravens were number one seed. They did beat the Texans. Got to give him credit there. But you can't get drafted and say, I'm going to bring a Super Bowl to Baltimore immediately and then play like this in the playoffs. You can't throw into triple coverage. You can't not elevate the players right. Like we see other quarterbacks just like do the things that I think people think Lamar can do, but I don't know if he's ever going to do in terms of being able to go to the Super Bowl.
Well, I was
So
always against him getting that contract because
yeah,
he has to run to be successful. And the running backs between all of them got 6 carries on Sunday.
I was about to
And when
say that.
when you turn Lamar into just a drop back quarterback, that's in the words of Richard Sherman, that's the result you're gonna get.
Well, it's funny you bring up that Russian stat because I mean, between Jackson, Edwards, Justice Hill, and Zay Flowers, I mean, they had 3, 6, 7, 8. They had 16 carries. But yeah, you take Zay Flowers was basically nothing on a few end around plays. But to be I think they were the number one rushing team, right? If I'm not mistaken. To be the
Yeah,
number,
the number
yeah.
one rushing team
And
playing the Chiefs, who were just coming off a game where they gave up 182 rushing yards against the Bills.
make it make sense. I don't get that. How do you be that effective at running the ball and then I mean they didn't even get touches. It's not like it was a blowout. You know, the Ravens were in it for a while. Lamar Jackson goes 20 he throws about 37 times. I you just got to wonder. I wonder about that stuff. I've seen the Browns do this during the regular season sometimes, where it's like they're the best running team in the NFL going up against the 32nd ranked run defense. And the running backs get like 6 carries in the game. And I'm like, look, I know you're not going to run the ball 50 times a game, but sometimes it's not that hard. Don't overthink it.
Like before you get away from the run, like make the defense show that they can stop it.
Right. Absolutely.
It just
So I,
insanity. But
yeah, very, very surprised by that. And before we end those thoughts, because I want to jump to a few other things. Do you think Lamar Jackson will ever reach a Super Bowl?
reach a Super Bowl?
Not win, but do you think he will ever get to one?
I'm going to say no.
I'm also going to say
It's
no.
essentially Lamar Jackson versus the field, and the field includes Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and then like over the course of the next 5 years, some other teams that we just don't see coming are going to spring up, like like Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Will Levis. It's just
Yeah. Deshaun Watson and the Joe Flacco hybrid quarterback experience.
the
Yeah.
Browns running the wishbone offense with Joe Flacco under center, Deshaun Watson and PJ Walker in the backfield.
Undefeated season incoming.
It's going to be like the Georgia Tech or like the Air Force triple option offense. You just don't know what's coming.
Could you imagine? That would be fucking insane. I agree with you though. Like, it's not even, I don't think either of us are being even a hater on him about it. I just feel like, yeah, when you compare who he has to go up against and then just who he appears to be as a quarterback, I mean, it's not like he's been in the league for 1 or 2 years. Like, he's been around. We know who he is at this point. Do I think that the Ravens will have winning seasons and make the playoffs? Sure. But with this was the year where I thought, well, like if he's gonna prove everyone wrong, it's this year. It felt like their year. It just did to me. I was like, ugh, I hate to say it. I don't want to see it, but I feel like the Ravens are gonna make it to the Super Bowl. And if it didn't happen this year, I don't see it in the Lamar Jackson era. And also, we've seen these running quarterbacks, dude. We've seen it. How many times have we seen it where they're lights out MVP and then they fall off a cliff? There's nothing to like that could happen to Jackson too in a couple years. The same way it happened to like
Look,
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton, exactly.
Yeah, Cam Newton won MVP. Cam Newton went to a Super Bowl. Cam Newton was regarded as a top 5 quarterback in the league for a stretch. And then it just like you blinked and he's out of the league. So you just never know. You really don't. And with how many hits Jackson takes and like just being that style of quarterback, he's also small. Like Cam Newton was a fucking specimen. So yeah,
Exactly. And then also with Lamar's contract, I mean, it's going to be hard to maintain all of those pieces that were on the number one scoring defense when your quarterback is taking up so much of the salary cap.
yeah,
So it's going to be hard to retain a lot of those guys as well. So it's like, how long can you keep that defense in place?
yeah, yeah. Because you're gonna have to pay those guys, the Patrick Queen and Kyle Hamilton, who he was all over the field, man. I hate that they drafted him, Kyle Hamilton. I think Travis Kelsey cooked him a few times, but he was making plays left and right, and I was like, ugh. But um, yeah. Uh, I want to wait to do our Super Bowl prediction until it gets closer. But that's our
Absolutely.
matchup. That's our matchup, the Chiefs and 49ers. So the other thing I want to bring up before we move to, we're gonna talk about our top 3 favorite plays from the Browns season, from the Titans season. But
When it ended.
yeah, I know there's very few for you. And also we had some people reply to our tweet, so I want to give them a shout out of what they thought their favorite play was. So real fast, and we'll keep this short. The Browns hire Ken Dorsey as offensive coordinator. I thought that it was just kind of a due diligence interview. I think some of the guys that they really wanted got hired elsewhere. And in addition to that, I've done more research on Ken Dorsey, and it's made me come around on him a little bit. A few notable things: he's never had an offense that wasn't top 6 in scoring, top 10 in least turnovers, and top 10 in passing touchdowns. And in 2022, the Bills offense under him were second in the NFL in yards per play and second in the NFL yards per carry. In addition to that, stand by. Got one more little nugget. The offense's EPA during a 10 game span without him like drastically went down. So I mean, here's the thing. And I thought this whenever he got fired. Josh Allen turns the ball over a lot. A lot of people thought the firing was kind of it was a scapegoat situation. And when your quarterback is turning the ball over that much, I think 14 times in 10 games, that's a lot, man. So like, and we know how much Josh Allen turns the ball over. So I'm not saying he did everything right and didn't deserve, like, who knows what goes on behind closed doors. But on the surface, I'm like, yeah, well, you know, like let's see how it shakes out. I don't hate it as much as like the initial interview with him. I was like, I don't love that. I'm kind of neutral right now. I don't think he's going to call plays. There was a report that Stefanski may give up play calling if they bring in the right OC, but I don't think he's going to call plays. What do you think?
I couldn't tell you one thing about Kendall. Like I really don't know if it was his fault for what the Bills were going. I mean, I do think that they made the correct decision in terms of like if you're going to go with Ken Dorsey or Joe Brady, I would go with Joe Brady because I love Joe Brady and I think he's going to be a head coach one day. But I mean, whether or not Ken Dorsey's success or failure with the Browns, it's all going to determine if they can make Sean Watson good again.
Yeah,
That's what's going to like if Deshaun Watson's good next year, the hire's going to look good. If he sucks, then
yeah. And I think that's partially why they brought him in to help breathe some new life into an offense and maybe cater it more towards Watson. And the reports ever as they felt with AVP, while he is good, he's gonna get a job pretty fast. Alex Van Pelt, like I guess it got a little stale and repetitive of what they were doing. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
um,
bring in an offensive coordinator who was coordinating an offense with a, running
mobile
quarterback.
quarterback.
So,
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe he can add some new wrinkles to make things better next year.
I agree. I'm of course optimistic, but you know how sometimes we sign a player or hire a coach, and I'm like, oh, that's a great decision. It's like right now, I really don't know how to feel. Like I'm pretty neutral about it.
They-
I'm not going out and getting a Ken Dorsey jersey from when he played quarterback with the Browns.
Hopefully he performs better for you as OC than he did as the quarterback for the Browns. In a
Yeah,
2008 matchup, a 28-9 loss to the Tennessee Titans in Nashville, where Ken Dorsey was 22 of 43, 150 yards and an interception.
we don't talk about that. That's in the
We
past. We don't live in the past, bro. He was a Miami Hurricanes actual legend, also for
he
the
wa- he
record.
he,
Yeah,
he was good back in those days, but
yeah.
who knows, man?
But
We'll see.
all right, moving on from that, just because I don't feel like there's a lot more to say. So we're gonna highlight top three favorite plays, which I know is gonna be harder for you to pick than me. From
Is it
the
like favorite individual plays or just like overall moments?
sorry, yeah, moments. Like
Okay.
I have my three moments picked out of where it was just like
Okay.
I was ear to ear, smiling, excitement, whatever. So I'll go first with one, and then you tell me yours, and then at the
Okay.
end we'll read off what people replied. So
Absolutely. Let's do you have them like in order in your head?
yeah,
Let's start with three and then work our way up to our best moment.
okay. So number three for me is it wouldn't be on a lot of people's moment list, but I was up at the game in Cleveland when DTR started against Pittsburgh and we won 13-10. I didn't sit down that whole game, and it was some of the loudest I've ever heard that stadium. And that moment of DTR leading a game-winning drive and then crying on the sidelines after was like I felt hopeful at that moment. I felt like it's not going to be pretty, and this is way before we got Joe Flacco. I was like, it's not going to be pretty, but we could squeak into the playoffs. Was how I felt at that moment. And for since 1999, we were never a team that was gonna, lead that game winning drive. That doesn't happen for us that often. So that was a great moment. And just being there was like, when you leave a stadium and after your team wins, that's just like you're going to slam some beers and stay out all night. So it was a great moment. What's number three for you?
Number three moment, the blowout win against the Bengals. At that point in the season, we were 1-2, coming off the blowout loss to the Browns. We were a little on. It's like, oh God, like this season may go off the rails. Joe Burrow comes to town, and we get our playoff revenge. Spank them 27-3. Just a physically dominating performance. Got us to 2-2, and then that's when I thought, you know what, things may be okay. Ryan
You were
Tannehill's
you were
gonna. Right,
hopeful at that moment,
I
yeah.
was. I was like, okay, AFC titles back on, baby. But
Yeah.
that was a very entertaining game to watch. So that's my number three.
I remember that game. Yeah, that was a very big. We went from beating you guys the previous week to rooting for you that week to beat the Bengals. It was funny. All right. Run out of time here. So number two for me is the Ravens Browns game in Baltimore. And the second half of that game where Deshaun Watson went 14-14 on what turned out to be he had a sprained ankle, and that's where he got a shoulder injury, was in that game, and led us from down to beat Baltimore in Baltimore. Once again, games we don't win. And I even backed that up with the stat of where we were like 0-57 since 1994 or whatever. Like we don't win that game ever on the road. And for a team that had a lot of issues winning on the road all season, that was like the signature win. And that was another moment where I felt like, man, he's back with Deshaun Watson, because he really looked good in that game. And he looked good in the second half. The first half was pretty bad. Like he was like 6-18 or something, but he was 14-14 in the second half. So that game was a roller coaster, and just seeing that game winning drive was special. I felt like, because even though I'm not a Deshaun Watson supporter in the sense of, like, we've talked about that, I don't love him as a human or anything. I don't want to root for him, but he's my quarterback, so it's kind of a weird gray area. I just want all the narratives about like the contract and overpaid and he's cooked. I just want all that shit to go away, and the only way that goes away is if he plays well, and that felt like the beginning of it going away. So that was a very good moment. What's your number
Alrighty.
two?
My number two, Week 18, beating the Jags to end their season.
That's a
All
good
they
one.
all they had to do was win. They won the division. All they had to do was beat the lowly 5-11 Titans, and then King Henry drug his nuts across the entire county of Duval and the city of Jacksonville. So
Duval. Yeah, that was pretty good. The Jags really fucking crumbled, man. That shit still blows my mind. All right.
number
Number
one,
one. This is a pretty easy one. Joe Flacco, prime time against the Jets. Browns clinching playoff victory.
he was in
Un
his bag that game. He
he was
was
he was in his bag. And to do it in prime time, juxtaposed to the last time we clinched a playoff victory was during COVID when no one was there, is just like could not be more opposite end of the spectrum. And I was like, I was watching the game in my basement when I was tearing up a little bit after the game, just seeing all the emotions, and I was like, man, because at that moment I felt like the Browns really could make a Super Bowl run. Little did I know that they would shit themselves a few weeks later, but in that moment I felt that was the best moment of the season. What's your number one?
there we go. My number one, even though the actual game ended a loss, the London trip.
Okay.
Going to London, the vibe. First of all, it's New Tottenham Stadium, best like sports stadium I've ever been to. Just all around elite bars all around the stadium. I mean, just walking into one bar, pounding $3 Heinekens, making my beer snake that was the right that rivals the DC Defender one from the XFL days. All the serotonin going into my brain, and then seeing a guy walk around in a Miami Dolphins Ryan Tannehill jersey.
Yeah, I remember that actually. I remember you sending that. That's
And so my message is to the fans: like, if your team gets an international game slot, don't think about it, just go.
uh,
It's a fun
I'm so
trip.
jealous. Yeah, because I feel like you guys play there so much more often. Like the Browns haven't played there since 2016, I think. And I want to go over there for a game so bad, but I just don't feel like it's coming anytime soon. But when it does, your advice, I'm definitely not even thinking twice about it. Those are some great moments from both teams. I know it was a down season for the Titans, but you can still find a little silver lining
Absolutely.
here or there. Let's see what people on Twitter said. Got a few responses here. At J Brickman 19, Browns fan said being at the Thursday night game versus the Jets clinching a playoff spot. And then he said also, or our win versus the 49ers. Both were great wins. Uh, Loyal listener, Richie Fox at I Wish I Was a Fox. The Titans letting go of an amazing coach out of spite.
Out of spite.
And then the Browns' entire season was a defining moment for the franchise. Next man up,
I've
etc.
got this out of spite. Rich, you're drinking too many of those shower beers, buddy.
um, at Browns Candy Skull, the Titans. I love this word. The Titans mollywhopping the Bengals was hilarious and awesome.
It sure was.
Mollywhopping. I just love that term. It's so good. And then offseason Browns at Fan Indifferent said the Baltimore comeback win for the Browns, which was one that was also on my list. And then we had one quote, I believe, from Dog Pound Daily. Let's see. Trying to see exactly which Dog Pound Daily. Shameless plug. That is who I write my articles for at Dog Pound Daily. Let's see what they said. He said every Flacco TD, that and Njoku's angry runs. Both really good moments because Njoku really broke out this year, and I think every Browns fan was very happy to see that. So a lot of good moments. If you're a Titans fan out there, reply to the tweet next time. We need more Titans replies. But I think maybe they had the same thought process as you. They probably just kept scrolling because they were like, yeah, fuck this season. I'm ready for I don't want to talk about it anymore. um, but
It's Joe. It's Jover.
it's Jover. Yeah, so it's been fun. We're almost out of time, so I will say that we will be back the week before the Super Bowl to do our Super Bowl preview. And Thomas, I want you to cook up a little something. Now, it's been well documented in the show that you have a gambling addiction and you've been through hell and back with that gambling addiction. Okay. You've had people knocking on your door at 3 a.m. It's like a Walter White situation. So I want you to come up with some prop bets slash parlay scenarios for the Super Bowl.
All right, I will come up with
At least,
I will come up
okay,
with one parlay that I will recommend to the audience, and
love
then
it.
we'll just go through together on some props, like like we did last year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's do that because once again, with the, I don't want to dive into your backstory too much, but with the just pure, just like gambling addiction that you've just struggled with for 20 years at least,
I think
you
it's a little
have
bit of an exaggeration.
you have way more knowledge about this than I do because I build out like a stupid 9-leg parlay every week that doesn't hit. So I want a realistic parlay from you
Let's
whenever
see.
we do the next episode.
2025 Super Bowl odds: Browns at 50-1, Titans 150-1. The second
Now that's
worst
what I
odds.
call fucking yikes.
Oh man, Lord have
It's
mercy.
wild. All right, so we'll be back. We'll be back next week. Do another episode, little Super Bowl preview with some prop bet fun, parlay situation as well. I guess. Oh, we talked about the people replying to our tweet. Make sure to go follow Tighten Up the Dog Pound at Tighten_Dog21 on Twitter/X. We pump out some fun content in there, interactive content. So you guys go check that out. I'm on X/Twitter at big_Mike9169. It's been fun today. Browns fans out there, stay positive. Our time is coming. Thomas, I'll leave the rest to you.
Just a hearty tighten up. Tighten up, ladies and gentlemen.